Secretary of State Antony Blinken is reportedly postponing a high-stakes trip to the Middle East amid uncertainty as Iran considers launching an attack against Israel. Blinken had been slated to travel to the region Tuesday ahead of talks planned for later this week, in which Qatar, Egypt, and the United States will present a plan to implement a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war.
But you can bet that Blinken will try to apply pressure on Israel to make concessions that it probably shouldn't make. Israel's already facing enormous pressure. Iran has said that it won't retaliate if there's a ceasefire agreement, so the two issues are linked. Hamas says that in order for there to be Hamas's participation in the ceasefire negotiations, there has to first be a ceasefire, which makes very little sense. But Israel cannot agree to that because it's Israel's military operations that forces Hamas to the table in the first place. Nor should Israel be afraid of an Iranian attack and let that dictate its negotiations. The last time Iran tried to strike Israel, it couldn't penetrate its defenses along with the United States' defenses, firing 300 missiles and attack drones, which did very little damage. Even if it fires more this time, it may do damage, but Israel's response would be so great that it's actually Iran that should fear Israel, not the other way around. And Israel's also making progress in the war against Hamas. It's slow. It's a very difficult task, and Israel probably has a lot to go, but it has been taking out top leaders. It has been eliminating terrorists pretty much daily, and it really needs to see the mission all the way through. So Israel should really resist any pressure from Blinken or anyone else to make any kind of concessions. The concessions that Hamas wants is it wants Israel to end the war with Hamas intact, which would only set up the prospect of another October 7th. It wants Israel to relinquish control of the Philadelphia corridor, which separates Gaza and Egypt. That Israel cannot do because it's too important a piece of property. It's where Hamas smuggles its weapons. It includes Rafah, where Hamas's last remnants are thought to be holed up, along with probably the remaining hostages. So Israel cannot and should not make there's no reason for Israel to make any concessions along those lines. And the United States, Blinken, President Biden, and Vice President Kamala Harris, who all are on board with pressuring Israel to do a premature ceasefire, should recognize that.